It's Rhythm and Soul Radio. I am Marco Nobles. We have our guest line, our virtual studio open. And for those of you listening nationally and internationally on WHCR.org, on rhythmandsoulradio.com, or watching on our YouTube channel, we are talking to the first African American licensed millinery artist in the United States. And for those listening locally on WHCR 90.3 FM, we are talking to the woman who will be presenting the 70s Soul Great American Hat Show coming up on May 20th in Harlem at Alhambra Ballroom.
Yeah,
Harriet Rosebud is with us. How are you, Miss Rosebud?
I am doing fabulous, Marco. Just fabulous.
Excellent, excellent. So we're gonna start with the beginnings of the show, and then we're gonna kind of go back and talk a little bit about you as well. So
Okay.
with the show, this is the as is termed the post pandemic inaugural Great American Hat Show, um, and you've themed it around 70s soul fashion.
Yeah.
Talk about that and the purpose of it.
Well, the Great American Hat Show has always been a theme show, first of all. And what
Mhm.
we try to do at the show is we try to educate our audience on how fashion has played such a powerful influence in our everyday life, the decisions we make. We have watched women wear hats as they went to sit in on a store when there was inequality. Um,
Mhm.
and they were trying to get some laws changed. We watched women wear flowers in their hair and bell bottoms and to express their freedom. We've watched women wear corsets in the early 20s to express their restrictions. So in every era, there is usually there is a key or something that we can look back to and say, hey, this is what happened. And the 70s for me is just that era where we were coming out of the movement, but we're still in it, and we're still
Mhm.
looking for our place. We're still looking for our voice as
Mhm.
as women and as people of color. So, and it's expressed in the clothes, the colorful, scenic, free clothing that we wore at that time. So we talk a lot about that through fashion. Um, we also have all kinds of stuff going on at the show, Marco, like
Mhm.
everything, acting, dance. We have a powerful dance company that's coming to perform. We have actors, we have other live talent, poets. So it is really an amazing show.
And with all that you have Cheryl Song, who is one of the original soul, well, one of the Soul Train dancers that we all remember
Right.
so well.
Yeah, so everybody remembers the wonderful woman of color, Asian lady that first danced on Soul Train. We all remember that. We may
Yes.
not remember a lot, but we remember her with the hair. And she comes on and I met her some time ago and she told me her story and I thought how great it would be that she would be a part of this show and just come and just share with us her story, which is really incredible how she got on Soul Train
Hmm.
as the first Asian American to do so. So it is a show put together. It's almost not like a hat show or a fashion show. It's more like a fashion event, if that makes sense. Because
Hmm.
then there's lights and all kinds of beautiful uh, graphics to express what we're trying to do in the show.
Right. It's Rhythm and Soul Radio. We are talking with Harriet Rosebud, and she is presenting the Great American Hat Show coming up on May 20th at Alhambra Ballroom in Harlem, New York, right on the corner of 126th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. Now, you mentioned that it's more of an event, and that kind of shows itself in the time of the event because this is a day long activity from like 9 to 4
Yeah,
on that
so
Saturday.
yeah, it's not just a show. The show isn't included in it. It people who are enthusiasts of fashion not just hats, not just millinery, but fashion in general, but particularly of hats, because hats is an art form. It is
Mm.
those little creations really kind of dictate who you are and what you are and how you're feeling at the moment. Like right now, I'm feeling very 70s, so I'm wearing my apple. But it has a lot of color in it, right? So I'm
Hmm.
feeling like really groovy like that. But that's what hats do for people. And so this show is colorful. We have powerful scenes like Emerald City. Remember back the
Mm.
Wiz?
The Wiz. That's
The
right.
lady said, um, to now, oh, well, the gentleman says, and in this case, this time it's going to be a woman. She says, I think the color should be red. And
Yes.
so we have beautiful red costuming and beautiful lights, and it really is something to see.
Right. You mentioned, hats are such an expression. This is your 30th year of
Oh
of
yeah, it's my I'm
being
trying to get my hat
being
right.
get your yeah. This is your 30th year
Yeah,
as a hat maker. Talk about your involvement because you are the only or the first uh, African American licensed milliner in the
yeah,
United States. So
yeah.
talk about one, how you get involved in making hats, and then starting a business around it, and then becoming licensed
To do
as
so.
a milliner.
Well, yeah. So I started when I was laid off, and I wanted to do something creative. And I used to watch my mother all the time. This is about being a part of the movement. My mother was part of the movement, and we used to watch her wear hats all the time to church, to wherever. And so I always had that little seed in me, and I've always been interested in fashion. But I found this art form particularly interesting because it's like an artist. You work from a blank canvas and you
Hmm.
create something, or you mold something, or you put something together. And within the show, reason that it's so long is because in the morning we start creating, so people can come in and make their own fascinators and make and play around with the molds
Hmm.
and learn a little bit more about the trade. And then later you see the show. There's shopping experiences in the show. There's several vendors that people go around and sort of partake in whatever wares they have. And then there is this show. So it really is a full day experience, and people are literally coming from everywhere, California, Texas, wherever. And I'm just really excited about it. So I've been doing it for 30 years.
Right, right.
For a
So,
long time,
so
but
talk about the process of being licensed as a milliner. Because you're the first African American licensed milliner, and a lot of
and
people
yeah,
don't really realize what that is,
they
and
don't.
certainly the process of how something like that happens.
Yeah, I didn't understand what it was because when they first came to me, I'm keeping my head down. I'm doing the work, and they showed me a prototype. I don't know if you remember Annie Lee, Thomas Blackshear,
Hmm.
all of the famous artists that came on, and they you can go anywhere. You can go to Hallmarks. You can go anywhere to pick up their work.
Hmm.
Well, they didn't just do that. There's companies behind them that sells their product. It's like Tommy Hilfiger now selling sheets. They make he's licensed to do so.
Hmm.
Or Liz Claiborne, she sells everything from shoes to eyewear, or any other person that's licensed. So or a the Kate
Hmm.
Spade brand sells everything from shirts. She started out selling purses, but now you can go in Bed Bath and Beyond and see sheets under the brand Kate Spade. So that's the same concept, except I did it in the art world. And in
Hmm.
the art world, is first of all, it's very exclusive to be licensed, and I didn't know anything about it And what that meant was they were going to recreate my hats into miniature art forms. I don't have any of them here, but miniature art forms, and that's what they did. And they did it for 5 years. Um, and it was a wonderful experience because I got to travel around the country and meet people I would not ordinarily
Mm,
meet and share how I make these wonderful creations. And then they could buy them at the hallmarks. At every naval base worldwide, they sold these little miniatures. And so it was a great experience because it brought a lot of exposure to the brand.
excellent, excellent. Rhythm and Soul Radio. We are talking with Harriet Rosebud. She is again the first African American licensed millinery in the United States. But even more importantly, specifically right now, she is presenting the Great American Hat Show, which is taking place May 20th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Alhambra Ballroom in Harlem at 126th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. And we said it's more than just a show. And what's interesting is, my I growing up, my aunt made hats, and she did
Oh,
her own hat shows and all that, and it was kind of like a family affair. We all were working. My mother like helped her with certain elements and organizing the show. I was a runner, a gopher, and going to get this and that. Um, but at the time, I think a lot of us think, and for me, when we think about hats and making hats, we're thinking about church hats. You're thinking about, your
right.
mother, your grandmother going to church, and the hat they have to have on for church, or you think about the Harlem Renaissance and the presence of hats within that. But this is really a celebration of hats of all styles
Correct.
that share your spirit. We mentioned the theme of the show is 70s soul music, so evoking memories of the Temptations or the Supremes or LaBelle or Aretha
The Bell,
Franklin.
James Brown, the football, several of the football players that wore hats. Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, there. I have this scene in a show called Superfly, and
Hmm.
those were men who wore hats, and we are reminded constantly of the very stylish gentlemen who wear hats. Hats are for everyone. They're not just for people
Hmm.
who go to service or go to the synagogues or whatever. It is an expression of one's personality, right? So I that's what I enjoy about it. And just speaking of, you were telling me about your mother and her shows. It is a lot of hard work. I have the cast is over 100 people in this show.
Mm.
So
Wow.
yeah, so it is a nice big production. Um, of people who actually make the hats, the technicians that do the lighting and the sound, the DJs, the actors, the models. So it is a huge production. Hmm.
Right, right. And you have a number of other designers who are participating in this. I mean, obviously there's yourself and your work, but there's Larry Underwood
Oh, absolutely.
from House of Underwood. For those of us who are in Harlem and around Harlem, this lady is becoming a legend. Princess Jenkins of the
Absolutely.
Brownstone, Love Tucker, who is an author as well as
The fashion
fashion
director.
model. Miss
Yes.
Sophia Davis from
Yes.
the House of Sophia Couture and Fashion Avenue News. So there's a wide range of real heavy hitters in this industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Harlem's royalty comes out to shine not only with their wares, but with their sense of style. And so Sophia Davis is such a woman of grace and style, and her magazine is really an amazing piece of art in and of itself. Every month she puts out these beautiful pictorials. Princess Jenkins, the brownstone, is just fantastic style. She's a fantastic stylist, but she's also an excellent businesswoman. But she brings out her colorful fashions. The work that's in the show. I don't know if you remember Stephen Burrows, who was one of the designers in the 70s, who was
Mm,
a part of the Battle of Versailles. The Battle of
mm,
Versailles was a time when 8 black models went to Paris to battle the French designers, and all they had was one weapon, and that weapon was that they were all beautiful. A lot of them were beautiful black women, and it was so simple. But in that, it changed the narrative of fashion, and it moved fashion from just for some uh, to for many. So the ready to wear movement was birthed out of the Battle of the Versailles and these powerful 8 women. So yeah, so we have some great cast members, both men and women.
it's excellent. Again, the show is the Great American Hat Show. It is on May 20th at the Alhambra Ballroom. It's presented by Miss Harriet Rosebud, who's been our guest. And for those who are interested in more on Miss Rosebud and more on the show, you can go to harrietrosebudhats.com.
Yes,
harrietrosebudhats.com. And again, you can get more information on the show on May 20th at Alhambra Ballroom, the Great American Hat Show, as well as more information and some of the works of Harriet Rosebud, and maybe even get your own Harriet Rosebud hat.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. So I look forward to. Hopefully, you can join us, Marco.
I hope so. I'm gonna have to try to. I'm looking forward to seeing some of this. This looks like it's a great activity, a full hat festival, as it were.
That's it. That's it.
Thank you so much, Harriet, for taking the time and talking with us. We really
Yes.
look forward to the show on May 20th. I'm going to do my best to be there.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Marco.
All right, and in the mode to get everybody in the spirit, we're gonna get into some '70s soul to celebrate the Great American Hat Show. It's Rhythm and Soul Radio Show.